Week 12 is upon us. Dan Rubenstein, welcome back to the show. A dozen weeks into this thing, my friend. Can you believe it? How are you today? Welcome back.
I'm very good, Ty. I'm very excited for this week. I have a lot of thoughts about this week. I'm very excited to connect with you about this week. I discovered a new injury website that helped me to keep track of undisclosed lower body injuries.
You're not buying more gadgets, are you?
I'm always buying more gadgets.
You need a wing at this point to store all of your exercise gadgets, your recovery gadgets.
I am opening up a physical therapy gym to get a profit going with all of the flex bars and massagers and resistance bands. I'm ready to roll, Ty. Nobody is going to have looser lats than anybody in my life.
Beautiful. Well, welcome back in on that note. I am Ty. He is Dan. This is A Solid Verbal. Hit follow, hit subscribe so that you don't miss any of our episodes. 3 a week from now until, well, the foreseeable future. Also, if you've been here a while, please hit share. Leave us a comment out on Spotify or wherever you can. Leave us a review out on Apple. All of this stuff helps. We would encourage you to share the show with your pals. It helps us grow. Here on today's episode, yes, we are going to talk very briefly about the updated college football playoff rankings, maybe just to set the stage for how things are looking here in Week 12. But we've got your big games. We've got your quads. We've got whatever kind of madness ensues over the next hour or so.
Hey, real quick, it'd be great if you could consider subscribing to the YouTube channel down below. It really helps us out.
We have breaking news!
Boop, 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 boop. Mid-season form.
Felt good to get that out. Oregon's still the number one team in the college football playoff rankings, followed by Ohio State. The top two remain unchanged, but we had some movement otherwise.
Ohio State would be the 5 seed in this scenario.
Correct.
Yeah.
Texas up 2 to number 3. Penn State up 2 to number 4. Indiana up 3 to number 5. BYU up 3 to number 6. Tennessee holding firm at number 7. Notre Dame up 2 to number 8. Miami down 5 because they lost to number 9. Alabama up 1 to number 10. Ole Miss all the way up 5 spots now into the top 12. They are at number 11. And Georgia dropping 9 because of their loss. They are at number 12. So
they're
now,
12 but wouldn't be in, right?
12 but would not be in. So
yes,
the way the bracket shakes out right now, your top 4 seeds would be Oregon, Texas, BYU, and Miami per projections. And then you'd have Boise State traveling to Ohio State, round 1. Notre Dame traveling to Tennessee, round 1. Ole Miss traveling to Penn State, round 1.
That's a rerun, right, of last year's one of the bowls? Yeah.
And Alabama on the road at Indiana.
Hell yes.
Which is a matchup I never could have predicted in a million years. That would be your 10-7 matchup for the right to play Texas.
The connective tissue there, Kurt Cignetti, former Alabama, I think, receivers coach early on in Saban's tenure. So that's pretty great. And Oregon would be playing the winner of who?
Notre Dame, Tennessee. Dude, we're going to get a Verbowl out of this.
And it would be the Rose Bowl. I'm almost positive. The winner of the Big Ten's opening round, they're putting in the Rose Bowl.
I don't know. The Verbowl could happen. It could happen.
What are we going to do?
I don't know.
We gotta go.
Save some money.
Yeah.
We can't go like crazy on these prizes.
Yeah.
Save some money. So more to come on this. By the way, we are deep in the lab now trying to figure out what our postseason game is going to look like. Talked about it a couple times over on some of the bonus episodes and the regular episodes we've done. So we're working on that. We will get back to you and let you know what Winter Wonders is going to look like this year. But more to come.
Yes.
More to come on the playoff rankings. Dan, shall we dive in?
We have a lot to discuss.
We really do.
Dan, Ty, help. I need picks of the week.
We've made it about 8 minutes or so into this episode without a nickname for the Saturday.
I'm looking at this schedule, Ty, and I'm seeing, well, first of all, I'm just looking right now. I'm seeing Utah on the road. I'm seeing Ohio State on the road, Texas on the road, Tulane on the road, Oregon on the road, Tennessee on the road, Clemson on the road. Not all of them are obviously tough spots. Maybe look-ahead spots in certain scenarios, right? Ohio State has Indiana. The the week after this week's jaunt to Wrigley Field to take on Northwestern.
That's right.
Oregon has Washington, and let's see. Texas has Texas A&M coming up, but obviously they're going to take Arkansas quite seriously. Arkansas coming off of a bye. LSU at Florida, and Florida, look, injuries at quarterback, maybe not looking as strong recently without either DJ Lagway or Graham Mertz. I'm just looking at a lot of scenarios in which, Oregon at Wisconsin, right? Wisconsin's been disappointing on offense, and Oregon's been playing a bunch of weeks in a row. I'm looking at a bunch of scenarios where I'm not necessarily putting teams on upset alert, but I'm saying it's a Spinalis Saturday, watch your back. Okay?
I have never heard that word before in my life.
Neither had I, and I Googled back muscles, and then I found one with an S. It's a deep flank that helps you bend, I believe. Somebody can correct me on that. Spinalis, and hopefully I'm pronouncing this correctly.
Wow.
Where I'm just saying, LSU 4.5 points favorites at Florida, who certainly have been taking a lot of hits with Aiden Warner, and maybe you just don't take him as seriously.
Spinalis. Okay, so this is gonna work then with our preamble at the start of the show.
Yes,
with all of your recovery equipment.
Exactly right.
Which of these teams have the bands they need in order to strengthen the flanks and make it through into Week 13?
Pitt might have an Eli Holstein injury to contend with, hosting Clemson, who are 10-point favorites. Maybe if you're Clemson, you slouch a little bit, right? You let your guard down a little bit.
All right.
Spinalis Saturday, watch your back.
Watch your back. Why don't we start at high noon? The game you just mentioned, it is Clemson, a 10-point road favorite against the Pitt Panthers, Dan. I think the worrying trend for me in this one is that Pitt just doesn't score 30 points against top 40 caliber defenses. At least they haven't yet.
No, and even when they scored 40 against, say, Syracuse, that was 3 pick sixes leading the way.
Yeah, like you can go back to the game against Cincinnati or against Cal or on the road in SMU and see exactly what I'm talking about. The SMU game, maybe because it's more recent, that one sticks in my craw, I think, the most. Like
on the road,
but they weren't even in the same stratosphere
right,
as SMU. And that was one that they had circled. That was one that we had planned for, that we knew was coming. That was a big game. They were both, in this position where they were kind of undefeated and playing for a lot with respect to the ACC, never mind the playoff. They just laid an egg in that game. That is tough for me to swallow. And then last week, there was that loss against UVA, which, as you said on the recap episode, bad loss. I guess you could make the case that it was a sandwich game.
Yeah, and Eli Holstein got hurt, I think, in the third quarter, sliding, got hit high, left the game.
Even still, even if it's a sandwich game between SMU and now this one this week against Clemson, it was a bad loss. Totally separate from injuries, totally separate from all the other narratives. That was a bad loss. So I guess my long-winded question to you is, was last week a sandwich game? Was last week another point of reference that we can look at and say, yeah, maybe Pitt's just not that good?
I think Pitt's fine. I don't think we need to use crazy absolutes. I think when they're healthy, and I know the receiving room is beat up, now Eli Holstein is uncertain ahead of this matchup. Clemson may or may not be down one of their better defensive linemen in Peter Woods. So I checked those injury sites, Ty. I checked those injury sites. We'll see. This is the time of year where everybody's nicked up, everybody's dinged up, everybody's questionable, including you and me.
Yeah.
I think Pitt is fine. They're a good story. They are sort of an all or nothing team in terms of, shades of gray, black and white, whatever. They play so quickly that if things are going well, they're going really well. But if things are not going well on offense, it really puts the defense, which has been pretty good this year for, a large chunk of the year anyway, in a bind. And the fascinating thing to me is with pairing that with Clemson's really sluggish recent starts, whether it was against Virginia Tech, whether against Louisville, whatever, that the back and forth of this one could be super fascinating to me. So for Pitt, it's just staying on the field against Clemson. It's giving yourself an opportunity to get into a rhythm. And for Clemson is getting into a rhythm on offense, especially in that first half. This is Clemson's second straight game on the road. So maybe that helps them lock in. Maybe that just has them exhausted on this Spinalis Saturday. Watch your back. I think Clemson wins this game. I think Clemson wins this game and covers because of quarterback uncertainty with Pitt in this moment. And it's just been a minute since we've seen a Pitt spark. And to try and find that against Clemson, as somewhat flawed as Clemson can be at times, Clemson still has a pretty high ceiling. 31-17 is the final score I have down here.
I have 31-14 Clemson.
Look at you.
We have been hanging around too much. And I'm with you. Look, it's not like Clemson's been setting the world on fire.
Yeah.
It just feels like there's a little bit more to grasp onto there. We have a better sense at this point in the season what Clemson is, whereas Pitt, given some injury concerns, given what I think has been two lackluster showings here against SMU and then most recently against UVA, I don't know if they're good. And that's where I stop short on this one. I know what Clemson is. I'm not sure I know what Pitt is. I like the fact that the game is in Pitt. I like the situation for them that they've got Clemson coming out of a road game. I'm going to go Clemson 31-14.
Okay. We agree. Next.
Let's go all the way to 7 p.m. on ESPN. Arizona State. Arizona State on the road at Kansas State. Kansas State is a 9-point favorite, Dan. This game is interesting to me on like 1,700 different
This is great.
levels.
This is must watch.
This is a must-watch game that we did not have on the bingo card even 5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Obviously, ASU being 7-2 is a great thing for Arizona State. That's a good thing. You know, they're not out here looking to make the playoff. They're not even out here looking to win the conference or anything nuts. They're just trying to reboot the culture. And it's clear that Kenny Dillingham has found a way to do that. Even if they finish 7-5, they lose out. This season is still a huge success story. So I am in on that project. I am in on Kenny Dillingham. He is a character. He is passionate about Arizona State football. What more do you want? If you're an ASU fan, I think you got to be over the moon about that.
Yes.
What I do think makes this one interesting, though, is that you've got a team in Arizona State with A, momentum, B, some genuine playmakers, C, an upset mentality, and now playing against, in consecutive weeks, two of the top contenders in the conference.
Yes.
So at a minimum, these are meaningful games. It's fun to just talk about Arizona State and how the project has gone well, and it seems like they've got all these things, but these are games of real consequence here. I should also add, because I am the token crazy tiebreaker guy on this podcast, 3% chance that Arizona State wins the conference. Not likely. Need to win out. Need a lot of help. But you combine all those things in a big old vat and you stir it. 3%. You give Kenny Dillingham a 3% chance of anything.
That's true.
I don't know if I want to count this guy out, Dan.
Okay.
How you feeling about this game?
Again, must watch to me. ASU's in an interesting position because their most versatile weapon is questionable, Cam Scatterbo. And it's not just a question of what they can do on the ground without him, but he is a major part of what they do in the passing game. So you take that away from Arizona State, you take away some of their versatility. They've been, I think, very strong on third downs. That Kenny Dillingham and that offensive staff have been very good at finding ways to extend drives. Defensively, I like that they've been tested. They've played a lot of good offenses on their schedule.
They really have.
And so I like that they have comfort in what they're trying to do on defense, that they're tested in that way. And most teams should be, by the way. It's week 12, short of maybe Indiana. And so there is a lot to like about ASU. They do a lot well. They do a lot of little things well, which is why they don't get blown out. They're able to win because they don't make a ton of mistakes, and they can count on, taking advantage of another team's 1 or 2 mistakes like they did against UCF last week. I think it was a tipped punt return touchdown. It wasn't a full punt return touchdown. It wasn't a full block. It was whatever it was. But they take advantage. They're a quality, well-coached team. And I feel the same way about Kansas State. And so ASU is going to have to be smart about how they take shots, because if there's something about the K-State defense that you can take advantage of, it's giving up those big plays in the back end. And K-State coming off a bye, which I like for them, to play against a good team at home, coming off a bye. It's a nice place to be, especially after losing to Houston the way that they did and how ugly it was on offense for Kansas State. I think ASU is going to give them a lot. And
Here's the thing. I'm glad you bring this up.
Yeah.
K-State's a bit of a two-face this year.
They've been in real close games against. I guess we think Kansas might be secretly quality.
Listen, they're 7-2. They have not separated from a team inside the SP Plus top 50. They had close wins against Kansas.
Yeah.
Who knows what Kansas is? Colorado, Tulane.
But there's no shame in barely beating Colorado on the road.
No, there's no shame. There's no shame. I just didn't realize it. And when you zoom out and take a look at the season so far, it's absolutely a trend. Yeah. So I think I'm with you. I feel like I have talked myself into Arizona State plus the points because they're not allowing the big plays. They have been solid against the run. The pass rush numbers are not good, but there's a case to be made that they're not even really trying to be that team with a ferocious pass rush. They're dropping people.
Right.
I think it's a good test for their front seven, especially their linebackers. Here is my sticking point, okay? I want to take ASU. I really do.
Yeah.
My sticking point is I don't know about Cam Scatterbo.
I agree.
I think the only way that they can keep this close, the only way they could potentially win this game is if they get him involved in the passing game, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen them do that. It's essential that they do that if they want to keep this one close because I don't think they can line up and just run at K-State. That's not going to work. K-State's a better team here. If Scatterbo plays, I think it's close. I think it's like 27-24. I would take the points.
Yeah, the only thing with Arizona State in this moment, the Scatterbo thing, they haven't been great on the road, right? They sneak by Texas State, they lose to Texas Tech, they lose to Cincinnati, and it was a nice win by 3 touchdowns against Oklahoma State. But this has not been a team that has been super resilient on the road against competition that they probably should beat at times, although I think ASU is probably ahead of schedule, to be honest, given the roster turnover and the guys that they've had to plug in at different positions. ASU's a really good story. I don't think they're good enough to get over on K-State coming off a bye on the road. I have it down 28-23 K-State, so I think that means Arizona State covers.
Yeah, we're right around the same number there.
Yeah, the concern with K-State right now is they are prone to, or maybe not prone is too strong a word, but when you look at the BYU game and then when you look at what they did against Houston, when things go wrong, they go very, very wrong for K-State in terms of mistakes.
No. Well, we saw that in the BYU game earlier in the year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. BYU and Houston, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we agree again, 2 in a row.
2 in a row.
That's bad news for you. I've been really bad lately. Really bad.
Yeah.
7:30, ABC, sort of the big game of the weekend. This is Tennessee against Georgia. This line has moved around a little bit. Georgia is a 10-point favorite, Dan. May I borrow one of your famous lines?
The floor is yours.
What has Georgia done to earn a 10-point line against Tennessee?
I mean, they beat Texas by 15 on the road. Yeah.
Other than the Texas game.
That was it.
What have they done? Tell me what they have done to earn this.
They beat Clemson by 30 to start the season 7 years ago.
I have watched closely for the last 2 weeks. Granted, both the Florida and Ole Miss games were away from home. Feels like Florida did something to break Carson Beck. He's been a lot yippier than I am used to seeing him. And this is still a really good.
He has thrown so many interceptions these past 5 or 6 weeks. Yeah.
Does Carson Beck have the yips?
Well, I think there are a couple things at play here, but I'll let you finish.
I think what we have seen from him the last couple weeks has been discouraging. I think Tennessee still has a very, very good defense. I am looking at this point spread. I locked Tennessee in at, I'm not saying it is my lock. I'm saying I locked Tennessee plus 10 in on Sunday because I was confident that the line was going to go down.
Okay.
And it did initially go down, but now it went back up to 10. So either I'm crazy or at least initially some people were feeling the same thing and then money came in on Georgia a little bit later on in the game here. But curious to see what this line closes at because I saw 10 and I said, I understand why you'd want to pick Georgia. I think Georgia's a better team.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you'd want to lay 10 here, though. I get it's at home, but given what we've seen from that Georgia offense as of late, what are you really hanging your hat on? Where is your confidence that they're suddenly going to be able to just go out there and, take it to another good defense like Tennessee?
I understand what you're saying. I understand your line of thinking. If you're going to say, what has Georgia done? You can similarly say, what has Tennessee done as I continue on the road this year? Mm-hmm. Where has Nico's head been on the road this year. Nico coming off of an injury in which Josh Heupel said he's going to be good to go. He should be good to go against Georgia. On the road this year, a little bit sluggish, especially I think in that second half against Oklahoma, lose to Arkansas. And the NC State game was, again, 7 years ago, but it was also neutral site. Tennessee's played 2 true road games this year. That's it. That was after a bye on the road, losing to Arkansas.
The path has been different for Tennessee this year.
Yeah.
It feels like a similar ending point if we're comparing them to Georgia, in that the offense is just not as scary as you might think. Like, Tennessee this year is scoring a shade over 28 points per game versus power conference teams.
Right.
For what it's worth, that's about where they were a year ago when they were a good 8-4 bowl team.
Mm-hmm. Decent.
Seasons are different. That's not to say this is an 8-4 team. They're not going to be an 8-4 team. But the point stands, this is an offense that also has some issues. I kind of feel like this ends up as a rock fight between two defenses. And I still think I trust the Georgia offense more in crunch time, especially if they're at home. I've got this like 24-17 Georgia.
Okay. So here's the worry with taking Georgia. The worry with taking Georgia is they haven't been able to do anything on offense, largely because of how beat up the offensive line has been. And we saw Ole Miss completely overwhelm Georgia up front and overwhelm Carson Beck and whatever Georgia was trying to do. It was just a completely arrhythmic performance. They score 10 points against Ole Miss on the road.
Right.
I think you're right to point out, what has Georgia done this year? I think you're right to point out, or anybody's right to say, so we're talking about a beat up Georgia offensive line now going up against one of the scariest, if not the scariest, defensive fronts in America in what Tennessee has. Tennessee is the number 1 defense in America in terms of points allowed per drive, and a wounded, out of sorts Georgia offense is going to try to figure things out against this Tennessee defense. I think it's a mismatch. I think there's also the element of, yes, we're down, but we're not losing to Tennessee down. That there might still be an order to things in the sport. I just don't see how you look at this Georgia offense and say they'll get right because they can lean on this player. The running back room has been up this year at Georgia. Carson Beck has been off. Carson Beck has been seeing ghosts. Receivers don't step up week to week. They just don't have go-to guys on that offense. And even defensively, the secondary has been off. There's so much great things to say about what Georgia is up front. And yes, I think they're going to be limiting Tennessee. I have this Tennessee outright 20-17.
Whoa.
On the road.
This is a big deal. This game's a really big deal because we called it out earlier with the playoff rankings. Tennessee 8-1 overall in 7th. Georgia at 7-2 right now. Presumably they lose another one.
Mm-hmm.
They would have 3 losses. They'd be out. I did see, I think it was Heather Dinich who was on with Pat McAfee talking about, we don't know how the committee's going to handle a 3-loss SEC team or a 3. I don't want to go there yet.
Right.
Okay. Let's see how the season shakes out first. That could obviously be a controversial thing, but at present, this feels like something of an elimination game.
It does feel like an elimination game. I hope for Tennessee's sake that Dylan Sampson is able to secure the ball more often than he has been. That's been an issue.
Yes,
this is also
definitely.
when you point out that Georgia beat Texas 30-15 on the road in an overwhelming defensive performance, you're absolutely right.
You pointed it out. I didn't even point it out.
I'm saying you as in if one is to point to this Georgia performance as a reason to believe in them as a 9 or 10 point favorite, you'd be correct, but you'd also be correct to point out that game started with Georgia punting it and throwing 2 interceptions against Texas. An excellent Texas defense. So I'm just saying, as impressive as that performance was, Georgia has consistently struggled against what we believe to be good to excellent defenses. So I'm in on Tennessee here. If you're going to say who can win in the mud more often, even with a wounded Nico, even with an error-prone offense at times, I'm still going to say Tennessee. I think they're going to travel well enough, and it's just a little bit of faith in this moment because I didn't love their performances as complete performances against Oklahoma and Arkansas on the road, but I just don't know how you give Georgia, the 2024 version of Georgia, the benefit of the doubt to that level. I have Tennessee outright.
It's been such a head trip this year with teams like Georgia, with teams like Alabama.
Yeah.
Not using as a crutch what we know they have been over the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to take this season kind of in a vacuum has been weird. Has been a head trip for me.
Yeah.
7:30 NBC, your Oregon Ducks on the road. 14-point favorites playing a night tilt in Madison, Wisconsin against the Badgers, Dan.
The Badgers.
So Wisconsin was on bye last week. Kind of came at the perfect time for them after they lost 2 in a row to Penn State and they got drilled on the road against Iowa. I think that Iowa game was your lock of the week when we were up in Michigan.
Yes.
Oregon, meanwhile, they head into a bye week after this game. So is there potential for a getaway game of sorts? Is there any kind of look ahead to the future? Still being the number one team, you can tell me you've got your finger on the pulse of this team much more than I do. They close out their season in week 14, looking ahead a little bit. Big revenge game against Washington.
Big revenge game. Yep. Bye in Washington.
Big revenge game against Washington. So they got that one coming up. I haven't seen an early line on that one. I'd be willing to lay whatever, though. I think I'm kind of looking that far ahead already. I think this Oregon team is ready for that moment. Here is the thing for me with this one, and I have said this time and again this season. I'll say it again now. What am I betting on if I'm picking Wisconsin minus the points or plus the points?
You're picking Wisconsin based on scenario for Oregon in which they looked kind of flat last week against Maryland and not trying a ton on offense, and you're betting on a frenzied Madison Camp Randall crowd. That's what you're betting on to at least prolong what seems like the inevitable in this game, that Oregon would only win by 10 points or something like that.
I need more proof than that.
I agree, but I'm saying that's if you're going to dial it up, Ty. If you're going to build the scaffolding, that's what it would be.
I am not building the scaffolding. Okay. I need more proof that they can actually hang with Oregon. My theory is that because some of these teams are so damn overpowered because of the transfer portal, you can't just write off these big road favorites because they're in a tough place to play like Camp Randall.
Right.
The roster is stacked. They are stacked at Oregon. Across the board, almost no exceptions. Have had some injuries. Everyone's got injuries at this point of the season.
Yes.
This is another one of these games where I saw the point spread. I said, this is going to go up. It has to go up. It still might go up by the time Saturday rolls around, but I locked this one in on Sunday at Oregon minus 14. I don't know what the final is, but I like them minus the number.
Yeah. If Wisconsin had a receiver and an above average quarterback in this moment, they become a lot scarier. Braden Locke has struggled. The offense has struggled. There are good players in this secondary on this Wisconsin defense. I just don't know how you build that competitive Saturday evening against Oregon. And it's absolutely possible Oregon comes out flat. It's absolutely possible. It's possible Wisconsin upsets Oregon with an above-average quarterback, with an above-average weapon out wide, or a tight end. We saw Colston Loveland get loose against a softer Oregon zone in Ann Arbor. It's just, you can't even squint and see it. And so if Wisconsin has a shot in this game, it's limiting possessions, it's long, successful drives. They can't go 14 plays and not get in the end zone. You're not going to beat Oregon with field goals. And so it's Wisconsin going for broke, getting some busted plays, probably needing 3 turnovers, something like that. So take some chances, blitzing, jumping on routes, whatever. I think Oregon, as if they can avoid coming out flat, avoid looking exhausted, and are able to take the crowd out early, it's over.
There's no chance. If Wisconsin wins this game,
yeah,
I will do the show on Saturday night having spray painted my hair red.
Okay.
I will do that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get crazier than that because I'm still sort of...
So you're going to have to go out and buy spray paint just in case because
I'll
it's a 6:30 Central kick. Yeah.
No, we'll get it. There is no chance of this happening. None. They might not cover. Wisconsin's not winning.
Yeah. I don't know what you do. The game plan is too difficult, I think, for Wisconsin in this moment. And Oregon should... what did I write down? 35-17. Oregon covering.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Let's build some quads.
Please.
Think about the heart, the passion, your love, your commitment, and the energy you're willing to put into it.
His name is Tom Platz. He is known as the Quad Father. Do not do the Quad Father workout. I am told from those in the know, you will cripple yourself. But
are you like in a community of weightlifters that you are leaning on here?
I mean, look at me. Clearly, I'm in those forums,
Yeah.
talking shop, talking through lat exercise, just quad workouts,
Obviously,
and the like. Here is the deal, Dan. We do this segment. We pick out 4 games in each block, each window that we are focused on. There are many others that are going to be played in each of these early afternoon and late blocks as well, but these are the 4 that I think have our most attention. 12 o'clock on Fox. Is this a big noon game?
I
It's a
assume
big
so.
noon game. Must be. Utah versus Colorado. Colorado favored by 11.5 points now, Dan. I will repeat it for the 100th time. If Colorado wins their last 3 games against Utah, against Kansas, and Oklahoma State, and then they win the Big 12 title game, probably against BYU, they are going to the playoff. They control their playoff destiny. That being said,
Okay.
are you comfortable with any team in the Big 12 laying more than 7 points against any other team in the Big 12?
Not especially. No.
I am going Utah plus the points. They're good against the pass. They like to play slow. I think they can run. I'm not sure they can win, but keeping it within that 11.5 point line against Colorado, sure. I will take those points happily on Big Noon.
I'm taking the points as well. It's going to be a frenzied crowd. It will be a fun time. Colorado's going to win this game, but I don't know. You look at the way Colorado has played against the very limited opponents that have strong defenses. I think Utah can just muddy this up and lose this game, 20-13 or something. So
Yeah,
17-13, 21-15, something like that. Utah's defense should be able to physically handle what Colorado's throwing at them. We'll see offensively, but no, I think they're going to muck this up and lose close, because that's sort of the Utah way these past.
It's the Utah way. It's the
few
Utah
weeks.
way is what they are.
They're not going to lose by a lot of points. This defense is still too good to do so.
By the way, because this is a show about honesty,
Please.
did you happen to catch our friend Joel Klatt on Twitter extolling the virtues of Big Noon Saturday?
Yeah, it was good. Like he is the unbiased authority on all things Fox decision making. Yeah.
This very authentic sounding line on Twitter, quote, Fox Sports, saw a clear opportunity to build value into the sport by creating a third window for premium college football. Yes, Dan Rubenstein, nothing connects with the common man like talking about creating value
Shareholder
in premium
value.
windows.
Yeah.
Premium. We don't even talk about scores anymore on this show. We talk about TV ratings, and Fox apparently creating noon Eastern time.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of Al Gore creating the internet in this line from Joel, who I think is brilliant. I learn a lot from listening to him.
You think he's brilliant?
He's a brilliant commentator.
Wow. Okay.
I think he's very good at what he does.
All right.
And he is passionate about it, which there are very few things that we as fans are entitled to. Having passionate people call the games, be part of the product. That is the one thing that we truly deserve. I commend him for that. But
yeah,
dude, going on Twitter, trying to explain how it all works and why showing the games at noon is actually a good thing. That's something that makes the bosses feel good. It doesn't make the rest of us feel good. The rest of us kind of roll our eyes here a little bit. So I did read his thread. To his credit, at some point, I think he got around to the fact that, yes, the issue is on some level, the Big Ten signed the contract.
That is true.
They knew when they signed the contract. He obviously cannot hammer that point home because Fox is in bed with the Big Ten, and he can't.
It's not even in Fox is the Big Ten.
Fox is the Big Ten. But we can hammer it. We can hammer it.
Yeah.
And the issue here is this. Kevin Warren wanted $1 billion with a B per year for the Big Ten. Fox is paying a ton of money for the inventory. They have funded it so much that we have to eat it.
Yeah.
We are being force-fed the Big Noon game, whether you're a Penn State fan or an Ohio State fan. We all know how this works. It doesn't make it suck any less. It sucks.
Yeah, of course.
This sucks. This is one of those conference realignment things that sucks, where the money has unfortunately had an outsized impact on the product. And we can try to extol the virtues all we want about the big noon thing and how we're creating value, whatever.
Right.
Sucks.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, Ohio
Sucks.
State has how many straight big noon games in a row this year?
1,700. They're all at noon.
Ohio State refused to play Friday nights. I mean, look, the Big Ten could have said, yeah, we don't want our big games at noon. And Fox then said, okay, then here's the price tag. And then
Sure.
the Big Ten said, well, we were just sort of just going back and forth. We're just kidding. We're not like fully.
I'm not even blaming Fox for it. It's not a Fox thing.
No.
Fox is doing what they paid for.
Yeah.
It's a Big Ten thing. It's a conference realignment thing. But don't give me this like we're going to explain to you why this is actually good. Somebody needs to be the voice of the fan. I'm not saying I should be that person, but I saw this and it was a gigantic eye roll.
Okay. I'll still say it's better than 10 p.m. Eastern kicks. Those, like, even if it, 7 p.m. on the West Coast, game's not over till 10:30, 11.
Course.
Then you got to start getting to your car and sit in traffic, get home. That's a pain in the ass. Stream the games illegally. If you really feel, I'm not going to tell you not to watch. Stream them illegally. Take some chances with, some viruses and phishing, but stream them illegally. If that's really what you want to do and show your displeasure at Fox doing this, that's the only way to combat this. Either go to the game, stream it illegally, go to a bar and watch it. I don't know. But otherwise, this is the sport we signed up for. They don't care about you. They care about themselves. And it's not unique to college football. That's the world, Ty.
Premium college football window.
Yeah.
Value.
We're excited
This
to
is
build
what the
shareholder
fans
value.
care about.
Yeah.
The fans care about creating value.
Ty, in Joel Klatt's defense, any day now, he's scheduled for his annual smile. And I think he's going to soften up.
Joel's been on the show.
That's okay.
We say this with love, but we got to be honest. It's a show about honesty, Joel.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. Other games in this noon block. I pulled out Ohio State minus 28.5 against Northwestern because that's a big number.
Yes.
It's at Wrigley Field, and I'm curious, see what that looks like, see if they can cover that. We've also got Texas minus 13.5 against Arkansas. This line was higher. I think it was 16.5. It has since come down. And then I also wanted to call out Tulane versus Navy. Tulane is a 7-point favorite. This is a very, very big game with respect to the American Conference and how things shake out and who goes to that championship game in a couple weeks. Again, Tulane favored by 7 points. Any leans on any of those games?
Yeah, I have Ohio State big just because Northwestern doesn't do anything crazy well. They're obviously much better on defense. They're a disaster on offense this year. I think Ohio State should be able to. I don't know what the weather looks like. It might be a little bit wet in Chicago this weekend. You can fact check me on that. But I think otherwise, short of weather circumstance, Ohio State should win this game. I don't know, 42-7, something like that.
Yeah, Arkansas was on bye last week after giving up 63 to Ole Miss in Week 10
at home.
This has been a fun team to chart this season. Here is an interesting trend. Throw out everything you know about the Hogs this season. Just consider this for a second. Yep. They played the number 6 SP Plus offense in LSU back in Week 8. They lost by 24.
Mm-hmm.
They played the number 5 SP Plus offense, Ole Miss, back in Week 10, 2 weeks later. They lost by 32. Now they play the number 4 SP Plus offense in Texas, again, 2 weeks after the last. If the pattern continues, they lose by 40. 8-8-8. Even if it doesn't, Texas wins. Texas covers this point spread.
I have Texas covering as well. There's a nice rhythm to Texas, and I just worry about Arkansas mistakes against this Texas defense costing them on the scoreboard. And as much as I like the fun of Arkansas's offense this year, I just think the game is going to get out of hand eventually. So I have Texas, especially as they've gotten healthier on offense. Jaden Blue has started to pop once again. I'm going Texas here to win by probably 3 touchdowns.
Texas, my lock of the week.
Wow.
Lock of the week.
Sort of the kiss of death as of late, but I like Texas a lot.
Yes.
And then the Tulane game, I kind of think Tulane smokes Navy by like 35 points.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a runaway train in favor of Tulane.
Yeah, I have Tulane here as well. Although the line almost seems a little bit low. Navy's gotten a little bit healthier. I just don't trust the Navy defense. I think Tulane should be able to move the ball. Not at will, but we saw what happened against Notre Dame, and that has me a little bit troubled.
Afternoon block, Dan.
My question to you is, how bad do you really want legs?
I think this would be your potential window of opportunity.
By the way, really badly is how badly I want legs. And really badly is, I think, what Illinois is going to do to Michigan State. I think they're going to beat them early. On that early window, that was the other game I had circled. I think Illinois will beat them by 7 to 10 points at least.
4 games that I pulled out here in the afternoon block.
Okay.
We didn't have any big games, quote unquote, big games that we talked about at the top of the episode from the 3:30 window. But ABC, we got LSU minus 4.5 against Florida. 4 o'clock, we got Nebraska versus USC. This is an interesting one. USC favored by 9. Also got 4:15 SEC Network, Mizzou on the road at South Carolina. And at 4 o'clock, ESPN2, just because this feels like a weird game. Baylor minus 2 against West Virginia, Dan.
Yes.
Who you got?
In all of those matchups?
Yes.
Okay. I like Nebraska to cover against USC. That is going to be 27 to 23 somebody.
I mean, we talked about this one on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Interested to see Jaden Mayava.
Yes.
But ultimately, this is a game between two teams that love one-score games.
Yes.
So 9 points. I am not laying 9 points here.
USC
I'll take Nebraska plus.
They have been better at home, nearly beat Penn State, handled Rutgers. They have been better at home, for sure. I think Nebraska's defense should be able to do enough in this game. I just hate the Nebraska offense. Now, this is a Dana Holgorsen Nebraska offense now.
Dana Holgorsen, that's right. He's back, baby.
I don't know how much you can do if you've been there for like a Courtyard by Marriott length stay. So I don't know how much can be done to install and better use the talent on hand, but maybe there's something different. Maybe they're new looks. Maybe they're new disguises. Maybe practice has been crazy successful this week. I don't know. 24-20 USC here. I think they win this one. We'll see on the Florida quarterback status. I have LSU covering this spread because if it's an Aiden Warner game, I just don't see it. As dubious as LSU's defense has been, I don't think Aiden Warner is going to run through it like Jalen Milroe.
No, I like LSU.
Jalen Milroe, yes?
Yeah, Milroe.
Milroe.
I like LSU. It obviously did not help that Florida had to play Aiden Warder last week. Aiden Warder doesn't play pass defense, though. And it was my main takeaway that it seemed far too easy for Quinn Ewers to throw into this Florida defense. Again, 4 first-half touchdown passes, they were very easy for him. So say what you want about LSU and their defense. Garrett Nussmeier is an NFL-caliber quarterback, and he's got some NFL-caliber wide receivers. I've got this one at like 38-24. I think they're going to throw all over Florida.
I don't even know if that's a nice thing to say about somebody because there's a lot of stinkers in the NFL apparently right now.
There are.
Yeah.
There are.
So who knows? I'm going to take LSU, give those points. I love South Carolina against Mizzou just because there's the possibility of Drew Pine in Williams-Brice against this defensive front and things get out of hand.
I'm terrified for Drew Pine. Oh, God.
Yeah, we'll see. It could be a Brady Cook game. I love Baylor on the road. West Virginia.
Is it because West Virginia has not been good at home? Is it because West Virginia is in a state of flux? What is it because Baylor can score? What is?
Yes, all of those things. West Virginia, as nice as the win was against Cincinnati, it's Cincinnati. They're better on the road. Good win on the road against Arizona. Shelled against Kansas State, who can move the ball. Lose by double digits to Iowa State, although it was a nice start at least for that. At home, the best thing you can say about them is they snuck by Kansas when they were not good. I just think West Virginia is struggling. Obviously, they've made a coaching change on defense. I'm not there with West Virginia here, so I love Baylor. I think coming off of a bye, yes?
No. I'm on Baylor minus the 2. I'm on South Carolina minus the 12 now. And I like these games a little too much.
Okay.
South Carolina is one of the few home teams I like this week, which tells me I should probably lock that bet in before I have a second thought.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten way too far down the path of picking these road teams minus the number. And though I have a lot of them this week, I do feel good about that Baylor one as well.
Okay.
I like Baylor minus the 2. Feels right to me.
Elsewhere in that window on the CW, I love Cal against Syracuse. Syracuse coming off of a loss to Boston College on the road, second straight road game, and this is one that has them flying from New York to California. Cal has been playing nicely on offense. Beat Wake on the road. Cal also, I think, blew out Oregon State a couple of weeks ago, so perhaps in a rhythm. Love SMU against Boston College, who has not been the same team away from Boston. So I think SMU coming off of a bye, I think they're going to be in a good position here to win that game big. Penn State showed me the throttle, and now they have Purdue on the road in not a look-ahead spot. I think Penn State might have, is it Minnesota the week after?
That's right.
Tough team, but not a team that you are, circling on the calendar as like, this is the showdown of all showdowns. So not a look-ahead spot. Love Notre Dame against Virginia. Notre Dame is just a mediocre program landlord. They are just in a position to own and harass and do everything they can to make the lives of programs like Virginia or Stanford or any of those teams miserable. So I like Notre Dame to win big there. Love Louisville against Stanford. Just can't find a reason for Stanford.
Yeah.
Stanford.
Well, you got some takes on this window.
I do.
So you're not going to be taking your window of opportunity here. You're going to bet all these games.
I love this window so much. And I like Maryland against Rutgers at home. Rutgers hasn't been the same team away.
We're going to see how Dan's afternoon window fares.
Yeah, please.
When we do our recap episode on Saturday at midnight out on the YouTube
channel. Feeling dangerous.
Dangerous. Very good. By the way, give a call at the Reverb line at 855-REBEL-3. We'll play your voice messages all throughout. Well, not all throughout, but at the end of that recap episode that we do on Saturday night. Let's close things out here if we can. I'm going to play your favorite.
Well, hold on. I want to point out something I've discovered too. I messaged you this. Oregon State is a favorite on the road against Air Force. Altitude. I have no idea who's going to win this game. I can't believe this is on Big CBS. I'm sure there's a reason for it. This game features maybe the two worst pass rushing defenses in America.
Ooh,
nobody is going to stay cleaner than anybody who attempts a pass in this game. What did I say? I'll look. It was like it's a bunch of chemistry tutors in 3 techniques. It's going to be great. So maybe I'll flip over to this if the other games are boring. So yeah, Oregon State Air Force in this window as well on Big CBS, at least according to the document you made.
We're going to need like 8 quad boxes here to make sure that you're up to date on this one. Let's go to the final window. I'll play your favorite sound.
You have to achieve failure. You have to take it that far. Nobody wants to go that far. It's too scary.
Too scary.
But you know something? I got news for you. That's where winning is.
So winning
He's not
Dan.
wrong. Can I tell you? I fully agree with where Tom is in terms of a headspace.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go where you need to go to win, to be excellent, right? Except for the truly elite. And say what you will about the quad father. Tom gets it.
Tom does get it, Dan. We've also been getting it far and wide from BYU fans, have we not?
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Such a smooth segue. You almost didn't catch it, but 10:15 ESPN, we got Kansas, we got BYU at home, a 3-point favorite. Apparently the consensus is that I am a BYU hater.
I mean, I think they dislike me more, but yes, we can argue about that.
They usually dislike you more, but I was the one who said it was a soft call.
Yeah.
The defensive holding call on 4th down against Utah. And I got a lot of these like, Ty, you didn't see the
Terry McCauley waiting.
You did not see the Zapruder film shot by some guy's brother that we slowed down.
We
10
triangulated
times.
the coordinates.
You didn't see it, Ty.
Yeah.
I did see it. What do you say now? What I say is this. He grabbed him. Yes, he grabbed him. We know he grabbed him.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I still can't believe they made that call in that situation.
Same.
But the other thing that we did say, BYU capitalized on it. It doesn't account for the next 4 or 5 plays where they move down the field, where they kick the go-ahead field goal. That is impressive.
You don't need to defend yourself.
Right. I'm not defending
You were
myself.
100% correct.
I am offering more context here, okay? I remain a very big, maybe the biggest Jake Retzlaff fan this side of the Mississippi.
You're the only person that side of the Mississippi who knows who he is. Continue.
I like Jake Retzlaff a lot.
Yeah.
And I would say there's a very big difference to, by the way, the nice BYU fans who have chosen to be critical of this.
Sure.
Very nice as compared to some other fan bases, which I appreciate.
Uh-huh.
There is a difference between being a hater and being a non-believer.
Okay.
You know this to be true.
Okay.
I do not understand BYU this year. It's like the optical illusion with the rubber pencil, when you kind of like wiggle it up and down and it looks like it's bending and you don't know how. That's BYU this year, because I watch the games. I do the same analysis on BYU as I do any other team.
Yeah.
And they confuse the hell out of me.
Uh-huh.
I don't think they can keep this up, but there is a certain charm with how they are doing it, how they keep winning.
Yeah.
The last time I felt this way about a team was TCU, and they made the national championship game. So
that's true. Stayed
commit
with an
that
80.
to memory.
Yeah.
But that is me not being a believer. If I were a hater, I'd look at the playoff thing, the bracket, and I'd say, well, if they play Alabama, I hope Alabama throttles them. I can't wait for BYU to play a team, hopefully other than my own, and give them a game. I'd love nothing more than for maximum chaos. So I'm not rooting against them. I just don't understand them, and I don't think they can continue this up. Okay. So that's where I'm at with BYU. Also, I'm taking Kansas outright this week over BYU. Okay. Not rooting against BYU. I just, again, that is the whole thesis for me with the Cougars this year. I do not understand how they continue to do this. I think it's a lot on Jake Retzlaff. I think it's a lot on these big plays that they are generating, which is to their credit. I just don't think they can continue.
I'm going to go
that.
make myself some breakfast while you finish your BYU stuff.
I have a lot to say about BYU.
Okay.
BYU coming off the huge emotional rivalry win. Kansas maybe secretly decent at this point.
Could BYU not just be building something brick by brick? Oh, it's back, Ty. Brick by brick.
What are they building?
A special season, Ty.
It's already a special season.
It's already a special season.
Sure.
BYU minus anything, lock of the week.
Really? You want me to play this sound?
Yes, please.
Wow.
Lock of the week.
You could not give me enough points in this one. Kansas? Get out of town. This is a special
Why is the
season
line
for
only
BYU.
3? Why is the line 3?
Because of the haters and doubters like you, Ty. I've been a big BYU believer from day one. It was a great call at the end of that game against Utah. Honestly, they might take that call and put it on a video screen and take it on a helicopter to Canton, Ohio, and put it in the Football Hall of Fame. It was such a good call. BYU minus anything. You are going to see Jake Retzlaff enter the Heisman race in earnest after this game.
Oh, no. They're nice people. They've been so nice about this.
It's time to believe, Ty.
Don't do this. You're cursing them.
I went for a walk.
By locking this up.
I went for a walk and I said to myself, God, sometimes you just have to accept special. And I'm accepting special, Ty. So BYU minus anything, lock of the week. Limb from limb. Is that your favorite thing? Limb from limb? BYU again.
I mean, that's a Dan thing, but I enjoy that.
Brick by brick. Lock of the week. BYU. If you had to pin me down on a score, 35-13.
Jeez,
yeah.
man.
I'm just telling you. I'm not going to say if I'm wrong, I'm going to eat my shoe or anything like that. I'm just going to come back on this show Saturday night and say, Ty, you had a chance to be on the right side of history, and you ignored it. This is your opportunity, Ty. Segment's not over if you want to change your mind.
No, I'm not changing.
Special season BYU.
Kansas wins 31-26.
35-13. Cougs.
All right. 2 other games here that I pulled out, and then you can give me, I don't know, maybe you have like 17 more that you want to give a pick for, because you seem very opinionated on this. What was the name of the muscle?
Spinalis Saturday, watch your back.
Right. 8 o'clock on Fox, Cincinnati against Iowa State. I've got Iowa State. Iowa State -9, I think. I've got Iowa State -9.
I have Iowa State as well. I just have not been a fan of what Cincinnati's been able to do, especially on the road. It's a get-right opportunity for Iowa State, who has been uncharacteristically weird on defense, and that's the nicest word I come up with. Ineffective would be another word to describe what Iowa State's been lately on defense. How about San Jose State plus the points? I love the Spartans plus the points.
Why? So it is 7 p.m. CBS Sports Network.
Yes.
Boise State and Ashton Ginty -13.5 points on the road against San Jose State. And Ken Niumatalolo, Dan, is having a decent season.
Mm-hmm.
Why San Jose State?
Okay, so they profile nicely to match up with Boise State reasonably well. Boise State has been very good rushing the passer. San Jose State has protected the passer quite well this year. San Jose State has the best big play, or even just the best receiver, period, in the Mountain West in Nick Nash. Boise State has struggled in giving up big plays through the air, big plays in general. San Jose State has been decent against the run. If they had been catastrophic or not so good against the run, San Jose State was pretty good against the run. I have not watched a lot of San Jose State, obviously. But in terms of this situation, I'm going to watch Saturday night as we're recording the show, I guess. In terms of this situational play, I know the defense isn't amazing for the Spartans, but Boise State has come back down to earth a little bit. It's on the road. They couldn't separate from, I think, a scrappy Nevada team last week. I just think Boise State should win this game, but that's too many points for me. San Jose State, a de facto Super Bowl moment. I'm going San Jose State to cover this one and lose by, 7-10.
The only other game that I'm going to call out here, and there are a few other ones that I think are interesting, South Alabama at Louisiana. Louisiana favored by 9. Southern Miss, Texas State favored by 27 points. Curious to see if they can cover that.
Yeah.
The big one, though, is this. Texas A&M minus 40.5. 40.5 points at home against New Mexico State, Dan. This is not a Diego Pavia New Mexico State, mind you.
No, it is not.
But 40.5 is still a big old number. It's the biggest number I've seen in a while since we've been doing this year's versions of these shows. I guess Texas A&M, that's a lot of points.
Yeah.
A lot of points.
I wouldn't touch it, but that's a lot of points. I should mention it's a 7 p.m. Eastern start, Boise State, San Jose State. So maybe I won't be able to watch during the show. It'll be concluding maybe right before we begin our stream Saturday night. I don't have any thoughts on New Mexico State, Texas A&M. I know Mercer, Alabama this week as well. There's some of those type of games in the SEC.
Dan, if you are out there amongst the people looking for live college football games and podcasts in pristine audio form, this is your reminder. Download the Varsity Network app. It is free to download in the Apple App Store. It's out on Google Play as well. Search for your school. You will get the content you desire. You can also listen to us on the Varsity Network app, as well as our friend Stevie Speedrun, who does the college football equivalent of the Red Zone thing. The College Football Blitz goes every Saturday from 12 noon to 12 midnight, keeping you up to date with all things going on in and around the world of college football. It is a public service, not just a show. We would encourage everybody to check that out for free.
Nice. Okay. I will. It's the best.
That is all we have. Again, what is the name of that muscle? How do you spell this?
I think it's, I'm going to fact check myself. It's spinalis. I think it's Spinis. Spinalis, excuse me. Spinalis.
Okay.
A portion of the erector spinae, a bundle of muscles and tendons located nearest to the spine. It is divided into 3 parts: spinalis dorsi, spinalis cervicus, and spinalis capitis. Deep muscles on the back.
Spinalis Saturday, watch your back. It is week 12 here in layman's terms, Dan.
Yes.
Make sure you go out to playeruntheboard.com, get in on the Pick'em game. If that's not live yet, it will be live very, very shortly. You can, of course, access that. Find more details, playeruntheboard.com, or just go to verballers.com and sign up to play. We would encourage you, again, to give us a phone call at 855-VERBAL-3 as you are watching all of the games on this Spinalis Saturday, when, of course, you're watching your back. But let us know your thoughts as you are watching.
Please.
We always appreciate your contributions. And we would encourage you all, if you are up for it, to join into the live stream. Live stream midnight Eastern time on Saturday night / Sunday morning out on our YouTube channel. That's all I got.
No, it's not, because it's time to drop that big, stanky, heaving drum and fife.
Oh, baby. 12 noon, Colgate at 2-8, squaring off against the Lehigh Mountain Hawks. Lehigh, a resounding 6-3, Dan Rubenstein.
Are you going? Are you making pizzas for the people in the parking lot?
Thought about it. No. Oh. No, we're going Lehigh. Going Lehigh from afar.
Lehigh from afar for me as well.
Bucknell 5-5 on the road against the Holy Cross Crusaders, who are 4-6.
Bucknell, a little bit too high and mighty in this moment in November. This is Crusader season, Ty. Give me the Crusaders at home.
I'm going Bucknell. Got to go Nellies.
Nah.
12:30. Stonehill?
Mm-hmm.
Stonehill. Stonehill's 1-8. They're on the road against the Lafayette Yetis, who are 5-5. Any reason to go Stonehill here, Dan?
I'm looking up Stonehill right now. They're the Skyhawks.
Okay.
They are from Easton, Massachusetts. So it's an alt Easton against the Easton.
Right.
I'm going with the Easton. Lafayette 5-5, about to be 6-5.
Also, kind of a precursor to the game against the Mountain Hawks, squaring off against the Skyhawks.
Also true. Getting Hawk ready.
Sort of like a bizarro Lehigh situation here. And finally, 1 p.m., Georgetown away from Multisport Field. The Hoyas are 5-4. Squaring off against Fordham. Fordham is 1-9. Is that right?
That's tough.
Did I jot that? Usually they're 9-1, but they're 1-9 this year, the Hammies.
That's tough. I'm going Georgetown here. I think there is energy and electricity around Hoya football in a way that we haven't seen in quite some time.
Give me Georgetown on the road.
Yeah.
Now we're done. Finally, we are done
Spinalis
with this
Saturday.
episode. Spinalis Saturday. Watch your back, one and all. Wherever it is you are listening to this podcast, thank you so much for downloading, for listening, for supporting what Dan and I do. One final call to go on out to playeruntheboard.com, get more details on our pick'em game. One final call to check out verballers.com, where you can go and support what Dan and I do, get ad-free episodes, bonus content on Thursdays, get access to all of our games, our Discord server.
Yes.
So on and so forth.
And get access to a Dutch crumble apple pie by winning Run the Board this week. Playeruntheboard.com.
For that guy over there, my good friend Dan, for myself over here, my name is Ty. Thank you again for all of your support. Enjoy your week 12. We will talk to y'all Sunday morning. Stay solid.
Peace.